Narcissists rarely control people through force. They do it through confusion, through guilt, through charm. And by the time you realize what's happening, you're already reacting to a game you didn't know you were playing. That's what makes narcissistic control so dangerous. It doesn't always look aggressive. Sometimes it looks like love. Sometimes it sounds like concern. Sometimes it feels like maybe you're the problem. They know how to shift the blame, pull your attention, punish your independence, and keep you emotionally off balance. Not because they're strong, but because control is the only thing that makes them feel safe. In this video, we're breaking down 7 tactics narcissists use to control the people around them. And once you see the pattern, a lot of their behavior stops looking personal and starts looking predictable. And the first tactic shows up so early, so subtly, that most people don't even recognize it until it already has power over them. The first tactic is love bombing. In the beginning, it doesn't feel toxic at all. It feels exciting, intense, almost too good to be true. Because they don't start by controlling you. They start by making you feel chosen. They move fast. They say all the right things. They make you feel deeply understood, deeply wanted, deeply important. And for a while, it can feel like you've met someone who just gets you. But love bombing isn't real intimacy. It's accelerated attachment. The goal is to pull you in fast, lower your defenses, and make emotional dependence feel romantic before you've had time to see who they really are. And once you're attached, the rules change. The warmth becomes inconsistent, the attention starts disappearing, and now you're not just enjoying the connection. You're chasing the version of them they showed you at the start. That's the trap. They give you the high, then train you to work for it. And the second tactic gets even more destabilizing because now they start messing with your sense of reality. The second tactic is gaslighting. This is where they stop trying to win the argument and start trying to rewrite your reality. The second tactic is gaslighting. This is where they stop trying to win the argument and start trying to rewrite your reality. They'll tell you that didn't happen, that you misunderstood, that you're being dramatic, that you're too sensitive, and they say it with so much confidence that you start questioning your own memory. That's what gaslighting does. It doesn't just make you doubt one moment, it makes you doubt your interpretation, your instincts, and eventually your ability to trust yourself at all. And the reason it works is because it usually doesn't come wrapped in obvious cruelty. It comes wrapped in calmness, in certainty, sometimes even in fake concern. And once they make you doubt your own mind, control gets easier. Because the third tactic doesn't just confuse you, it trains you to keep the peace by abandoning yourself. The third tactic is guilt tripping. And this is where control starts feeling less like pressure and more like obligation. They make you feel selfish for having boundaries, cold for needing space, unfair for saying no. Somehow, every normal need you have gets reframed as something hurtful you're doing to them. And after a while, you stop asking yourself what feels right. You start asking what will upset them less. That's the shift. You're no longer making free choices. You're managing their emotions. That's why guilt tripping is so effective. They don't need to control your actions directly. They just need to make you feel bad enough to control yourself for them. And once guilt starts working, they don't always need conflict anymore. Sometimes all they have to do is disappear and let your anxiety do the rest. The fourth tactic is the silent treatment. And what makes it so effective is how little they have to do. No yelling, no explaining, just distance, silence, and the message that you've somehow done something wrong. It creates a kind of panic that's hard to explain unless you've lived through it. You start reviewing every word, every tone, every tiny moment, trying to figure out what changed and how to fix it. And that's the point. The silent treatment isn't space, it isn't reflection, it's punishment. It's a way of making your nervous system do the work for them until you're ready to come back softer, quieter, and easier to control. After enough of this, silence starts controlling you before they even use it. You become more careful, more agreeable, more willing to betray your own feelings just to avoid being shut out again. And when they do come back, it's rarely with accountability, because the fifth tactic gives them something even more useful than silence: plausible innocence. The fifth tactic is playing the victim. And this is where the whole story starts bending in their favor, because somehow, no matter what they did, they end up being the one who was hurt. You bring up their behavior, and suddenly, the conversation isn't about what they said, what they did, or how it affected you. It becomes about your tone, your timing, your insensitivity, your cruelty, and that reversal matters. Because the second you start comforting the person who hurt you, the focus is gone. Accountability is gone. Now they're back in control, and you're back managing the emotional fallout. This tactic works because it hijacks your empathy. If you're a decent person, you don't want to be unfair, you don't want to be harsh, and they know exactly how to use that against you. And once they can turn every confrontation into a defense of themselves, the next step gets even easier, because now they can start pulling other people into the game. The sixth tactic is triangulation. This is when they stop controlling you one-on-one and start using other people to shape how you feel, how you react, and how you see yourself. They compare you to other people. They bring up exes, friends, co-workers, even family. Sometimes it's obvious, sometimes it's subtle. But the message is the same. You are being measured, and you are replaceable. And that instability is exactly what they want. Because when attention feels competitive, you start trying harder. You become more watchful, more insecure, more focused on winning back a sense of safety that they're deliberately disturbing. Triangulation also isolates you. Because once they convince you that other people are against you, disappointed in you, or more valuable than you, it becomes a lot easier to keep you off balance and easier to control. And after enough comparison, confusion, guilt, and emotional whiplash, the final tactic becomes the most powerful of all. Because by then, they don't just control your reactions, they start shaping your identity. The seventh tactic is identity erosion. And this is what all the other tactics have been building toward the entire time. Not just controlling your choices, but changing who you become inside the relationship. You start editing yourself. You talk less, need less, share less. You become more careful with your tone, your reactions, your preferences, even your personality. Because somewhere along the way, being yourself stopped feeling safe. That's one of the darkest parts of narcissistic control. It doesn't always destroy you all at once. Sometimes it happens so gradually that you don't notice how much of yourself you've given up until one day you barely recognize your own life. And that's the real goal of control. Not just getting you to comply in one moment, but shaping you into someone who is easier to silence, easier to guilt, easier to confuse, and easier to keep. But the moment you can name the pattern, something starts to change. Because control gets weaker the second you stop calling it love and start calling it what it really is. If any of these tactics felt familiar, that doesn't mean you were weak. It means you were dealing with a pattern designed to distort your instincts, wear down your boundaries, and make control feel normal. That's why narcissistic control can be so hard to spot when you're inside it. You're not just reacting to one behavior, you're reacting to a system built to keep you doubting yourself while they keep the power. And healing usually doesn't start with some huge dramatic exit. It starts with recognition, with noticing the pattern, with trusting that the confusion, the anxiety, and the constant self-doubt were trying to tell you something. Because the opposite of narcissistic control isn't revenge. It isn't proving them wrong. It's clarity, it's boundaries. It's getting back in touch with the version of you that existed before you had to survive their chaos. And once you see the playbook, it stops feeling personal. It starts feeling predictable. And that's the moment their control begins to break. To continue mapping this journey together and to avoid getting lost in the labyrinths of the mind, subscribe to Psych Atlas. This is Psych Atlas, where we break down the hidden patterns behind human behavior.